musically.
Welcome to Relationship Soup. I am your host, Lisa Hughes. Thank you all for joining me today. I have a dynamic show lined up. I hope you all are having a fantastic week. Now, today, I have another dynamic soul that I will be chit chatting with. His name is Coach Boyd, also known as Jason Boyd, and we are going to be chopping it up about flipping the divisive narrative. So much is out there that divides us, right? And it doesn't bring about understanding. So we're going to be chopping it up, right? Because we're going to flip that narrative. And we're also going to be talking to Jason, who is a life coach, right? And an author of his book, which is really good, by the way. Oh, man, I cannot wait to get into it. The name of his book is The Reasons Why Relationships Suck, but Dating is Worse. So we are going to get into it today. So let me go ahead and bring Jason to the stage. Coach Boyd.
Yes,
Hey,
ma'am.
Coach.
What's going on, Miss Lisa?
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you doing?
Man, I am great-tastic.
Mhm.
Great-tastic.
Nice, nice. Yes, indeed.
So everybody knows you as Coach Boyd. I'm just like, Jason, Jason, Jason.
Right. Yeah, very few people actually call me Jason. Just the police and my mama really call me Jason. Other than that, not too many people call me Jason.
Okay, so we're gonna call you Coach
Yes,
Boyd.
ma'am.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into this thing. All right. So
Yes, ma'am.
tell our listeners about you. I know that you have done so much for the community and individuals. Like, I'm impressed with your resume, but let our listeners know who you are.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I worked for IPS since 1998. I'm a mentor. I've worked with several different mentoring agencies as well as in IPS as a football coach, volleyball coach. I'm a life coach, what I like to use the term life consultant. Also a holistic therapist as far as massage and herbal remedies. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that, as well as an activist. I try to stay grounded in our community as far as talking to young people and young couples and my brothers. So, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it, right? Let's let's
Yes,
let's
ma'am.
flip this narrative, right? Let's have this conversation.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
your book, I gotta hold it up, right? Your book is dynamic, right?
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So many parts of this book resonated with me. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so what inspired you to write this book?
Um, well, actually, since I work with children for so long, um, and just trying to help them to get through their day, just to understand life as a whole. A lot of them had a lot of weight on them. A lot of them had a lot of burden on them, especially at a young age that I understood, but I didn't understand. So as I delved in a little bit deeper to what was really bothering them or what was the burden that they were carrying a lot of burden from home.
Mhm.
Um, and the burdens at home were usually broken down to two things, either finances or a bad relationship that their parents were going. So I can't necessarily help with the finances as much as I would like to, but as far as the relationships that their parents were going through, that was something that I felt that I could shed a little light on. So in that, I wrote the book, and the book was more for my younger sisters because they seem to be going through a lot of because the primary care provider for most of the children are the women.
Mhm. Mhm.
So in that, I want to give a little help to my sisters as far as what to look for in relationships, what to look for as far as men, and how to keep control of it and be able to diagnose that relationship and get out before too much damage is done, or to be able to nurture and foster a good relationship.
Mhm. 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 Okay. So, all right. So we had the dopest conversation. It always happens at the beginning of it never fails. Like when we backstage, we get it in.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
so your book does explore relationships and it does explore dating. Um, and you gave me a reality check about the dating since I'm back
Yes,
out
ma'am.
here, right? I'm back
Yes,
outside,
ma'am.
right? So what are some reasons why relationships tend to struggle or suck? Because in your book you talked about how um most relationships don't work out, right?
Right. Well, I think a lot of people don't really comprehend or understand what the purpose of a relationship is. Right now, to be completely honest, most relationships are just built around sex. That's pretty much it. Everybody's just it's just a free for all right now, and that is the foundation to most relationships. A lot of times people don't even know if they're in a relationship
Mhm,
until somebody gets upset, until somebody feels some type of way. But until then, it's not like when we were in elementary school where you wrote somebody a letter, would you be mine? Yes or no, check the box or whatnot. That made it official. So we have nothing like that anymore. Now it's just everybody's hooking up.
mhm,
And until somebody decides, okay, I don't want to see anybody else, you're mine. That's about how the relationship goes. And the sad part is that's not really verbal until somebody feels hurt, until
mhm,
something's
mhm,
not going quite right. Then that's when the relationship is presented like, oh, I thought we were in a relationship. If we in a relationship, why are you doing this? And one person might be like, well, I didn't even know we were in a relationship. And the other person is offended that that person didn't know that they were in a relationship.
mhm, mhm,
And
mhm,
oftentimes we get together, and what makes it a relationship is somebody's feelings change. In the beginning, everybody wants something casual.
mhm,
I don't want to do anything too deep. I don't want too much. I got enough going on in my life or whatnot. And it's pretty casual until someone's feelings change.
mhm,
And
mhm,
now, once the feelings change, it's still not presented like, okay, let's be in a relationship now. It's more of when something goes wrong, when somebody else has given somebody else some attention, or they forgot an important date or didn't do exactly what you thought they should do, then it becomes a problem. And that's when the other person will know that, oh, we're in a relationship. I didn't even really know we were in a relationship. And that's usually the start of the relationship. And it almost starts on a bad note because somebody didn't know and somebody's in their feelings.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Which is crazy. Because even in look, just in conversations in relationship soup over the years, right? I mean, that
Yes,
has
ma'am.
been something that has been a miscommunication. Like, oh, we booze. Look,
Yeah,
listen. Can we please bring back the will you be my girlfriend? Yes or no? Like so that we can be on the
absolutely.
same page.
Absolutely. 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 So, and I think that the reason that that doesn't happen is because women are too accessible. Back
Mm,
when we were writing letters, then we had to make it known that this was our girlfriend because there were other guys in the class that liked her.
Mhm.
So we had to let it be known. But now there's so many women, a lot of men are trying to keep their options open. So we're not going to necessarily be as direct or as intentional as we should be because we're pretty much leaving our options open. And if she's not more or less demanding that, okay, we have to be something before, because like in elementary school, there was no sex involved, but now there's sex involved. So now girls will have sex with you without being in a relationship. So for men, what do they say? Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free?
Absolutely. Now, Jason, because like I shared with you, I don't know what why I am drawing these to me, but maybe it's a divine message because I've been like on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of that, right? And it's
Mhm.
literally the conversation or the podcast or message or whatever has been about being too accessible, women being too accessible. So for
Yes,
our
ma'am.
listeners, can you define like how is some of our women folk accessible, too accessible? What is that? What is that? Can you define that?
Well,
Like, are we
what's made women accessible, honestly, has been technology.
mhm,
Um, I had a discussion with a brother of mine. We were discussing the difference between dating and mating. Now, mating is natural for us, but dating is a relatively new phenomenon. So, dating started with maybe our grandmothers or our grandmothers' mothers. So, think about it. So, before there were even telephones, you had to be intentional. So, now you had to walk over to a young lady's house and knock on the door and ask to see her because there weren't that many interactions in school or in church or whatnot. So to let her know that you were serious, you had to walk over to her house, knock on the door, and 9.5 times out of 10, who's going to answer the door is the father. So when the father answers the door, the now you have to walk the gauntlet. You have to go through different steps to even get to her. So that's her filter. So now you still don't have access to her. A lot of times you had to get in good with the father to even have access to his daughter. So now you had to be somebody. He's going to ask you, who are your people? Who's your dad? Who's your mother or whatnot? And you had to come from a respectful family and, we do this or whatnot. You had to cut some grass or help him in the yard or do something like that to even prove that you were worthy to date his daughter. So access was completely limited. Now that
mhm,
started to change with telephones. So even
mhm,
with a telephone, you still had to call the house. So you still didn't have that much access to her. You still had to walk the gauntlet. So the only time that we really saw women was at school or at church. So you
mhm,
dressed a certain way, you presented yourself a certain way. You never rode up on a woman just looking bad, just dirty and smelling bad or whatnot, because you only have a short window of opportunity to even impress her. So now you're going to wear your best. When you showed up at the house, you showed up in a suit. You showed up trying your best to impress her father and the rest of the family, so they will even allow you to have access to her.
mhm,
So
mhm,
that's so as technology grew, now you have telephones. So now it can call. You still have to walk the gauntlet, but you still have an easy. It's not as nerve wracking as walking over across town to somebody's house and knocking on the door. The phone's a little bit easier. If she didn't answer the phone, you can hang up before caller ID and stuff like that. You can just, hey, that wasn't her, so you can just hang up. But you had to be more intentional about it. So the access was getting a little bit more. She was a little bit more accessible, but still not that much. Now we're going to fast forward to the 2000s where you have cell phones, you have social media, so now I can just inbox her. I can just send her a text message. I don't have to be intentional. I don't have to put on my best. I don't have to uh, make sure that I am letting her know what my intentions are. And there's a plethora of women. So now, like I've heard a lot of women say, how come men don't date anymore? And men don't like to date, and why don't they take us out on dates? Men took women out on dates to get to know them.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
But now, if I look at your social media page, you talk about everything under the sun, all your thoughts, everything that you've ever done or whatnot. All your friends are on there. You have 1,000 different pictures in bathing suits and evening gowns and working out. So we've seen so much that there is no mystery left. That was one of the reasons that we dated you, was to get to know you, because we didn't see you that often. So
Hmm.
now I'm trying to find out things about you to see if I even like you. But if I look at your social media page as a man, I know you. So the rest of it is
Ooh.
not that important. I'm just trying to get to the good part now. Especially if you got pictures with you and little stuff and in bikinis and all type of little stuff. I'm trying to get to the good part. Men have always been that way. We're always trying to get to the good part. Before, we had to jump a lot of hoops to get to the good part. Now we don't have to jump as many hoops. And
Woo.
it's so many women, and this is the accessibility part, that if she makes me jump too many hoops, I'm gonna just push her to the side and go to somebody else who ain't gonna make me jump as many hoops.
That's real. That's real. Like somebody says, we women make it too easy for these men.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you know what's crazy is, and literally on my way to the dentist today,
Yes, ma'am.
this message was, he said, and online dating is trash because it makes women even more accessible. So that's kind of going hand in hand in what you're saying. Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Women are
so let me
trying
ask.
too hard to show their worth.
Mhm, mhm. What do you
So
feel like the women have to try harder with all the accessibility and all the options? Do you feel like women need to try harder? Or like how do we navigate through that?
I
Because
wouldn't
I want to
necessarily,
bring out another point in your book, but I'm just trying
yes,
to,
ma'am.
work up to it.
I wouldn't say that they need to try harder. What women need to do is understand who they are. Um, like when I was young, I'm 52, about to be 53. So when we started dating, women were, if nothing else, women were smart.
Mhm,
Women were
mhm,
very knowledgeable about a lot of different things. Women read a lot. They talked to other people. They were an enigma that you had to peel back different layers, and every layer that you peeled back, you learned something dynamic about her. Like, wow, she does this. Now it's not so much. Now it's not so much. So getting to know someone is okay, but a lot of times the more you get to know them, the more shallow you find out that they really are. So
hmm,
it's not even worth getting to know them a lot of times, because it's like you're really not all that. And a lot of women have tried to almost dumb themselves down to make it easier for the men. What women
hmm,
bring, the foundation of men and women's relationships, women give men a level to come up to.
hmm, mhm,
When we know there are going to be women around, like let's say there's an all male conference on an all male island, and you get there by an all male boat, just heterosexual men just going to an island for an all male conference. Only thing that we really need to know is, are we going to be playing basketball? Are we going to be playing football? So I can know if I should bring some hoop shoes or some sweatpants. But other than that, we might have a book bag, because there's
mhm,
going to be no women there. So what do we care really what we look like or what we smell? It's going to be all men. So we're going to pack lightly because there's no women. If women go to an all female conference on an all female island by all female boat, y'all are going to have luggage. Y'all
I
not
feel
doing it for her.
attacked. I feel
Yes,
attacked.
because it's not, y'all don't do it for men, you do it for yourselves, you do it for other women.
Mhm,
Men
mhm,
do it for women. So that puts you at a high advantage over men. You give us a level to come up to. When we know there are going to be women around, we're going to try hard. We're going to dress a little bit better. We're going to smell better because there are going to be women around. So in that gives you an advantage of a certain amount of control, even initially in the dating world. Right now,
mhm.
that already puts you a little bit up on the pedestal. So you have to uh, rejoice in that. And a lot of women have tried to almost dumb themselves down and come down to our level. So now the men don't have a level to come up to. If you go to a
Hmm.
man's house, if a man doesn't entertain women or whatnot, then he might have a TV on a crate and a bed on the floor and whatnot. So now a woman comes over and she likes him or whatnot. Let's get you a bed. Let's get you a couch. Let's get you. So she's going to upgrade him. That's what women are in our lives for. Because if it's just on us, we don't really care.
Hmm.
But that's
Hmm.
but women think that that's a problem, and I'm like, well, no, that's a tremendous advantage for you to have because it brings you value off gate.
Hmm.
Automatically you have value now. So now the women have gotten to the point where the men should want that for himself and he should do. I'm like, well, if we do so much for ourselves, what do we need you for besides sex?
Hmm. So would you say that it's fair to say that because in your book you talk about how women actually control the relationship, right?
Yes, ma'am.
The way the relationships move. Women control the dating. Do you think that some women have lost the concept of their power that they actually have because of all this accessibility, all this distraction with social media and all that stuff? Would you say that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think one of the biggest problems that women have is they don't. Honestly, a lot of my sisters, as well as a lot of our men, we don't have fathers. So when you don't have a father as a young girl, you don't learn the dynamics of a man.
Mm,
Young girls learn their power based off of their father. A young girl can, that's why there are so many dad girls where she is just, she can get him to do anything. It's like if it's a father and a daughter, you almost have to have a mother there because if not, by the time she's 5, she will have a pony because that's we're here to try to make her happy. And if we're not making her happy, we're not doing something right. The women have to almost stop that progress because we're going to do whatever she says. They have little girls have their fathers wrapped around their feet, so they start to understand their powers with men. And it's not about sex or whatnot. It's about the feminine energy, and she can whine her way into daddy. Well, this and this and this and that. So she knows how to be a little bit dainty and this and that. If he's come home and he's had I was watching the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, and he was talking about his daughters and how he can come home from a hard day or whatnot, and she will just sit on his lap and like lay her head on his chest or whatnot, and it will make things better. Just her energy calms him down and makes him better. But at that point, she's starting to understand her powers.
mhm,
So a lot of
mhm.
times women don't have that, so they don't exactly know what to do with a man or for a man.
That makes sense. And I'm so grateful that, I had my daddy, rest his soul. He just passed in March. And
I'm
that's
sorry.
something that thank you. And that's something that my father always like my father gave me game, right? Like and I'm
Yes,
not
ma'am.
making it like game as far as manipulation and all that stuff. Like my daddy really taught me the importance of knowledge of self and,
Yes, ma'am.
confidence and, different things. But one thing he said to me, and I remember as a little girl, like he always told me that I was powerful, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And, I was blessed to see my father love properly too. So,
Nice.
that has helped me, not saying that I didn't make some effed up moves with dating and relationships, okay?
We all do.
That I
Yes,
didn't
ma'am.
experience things, but I mean, I think that has been helpful in, kind of helping me to, always keep that at the forefront, even though I can get lost sometimes, right?
Yes,
But
ma'am.
that is daddies are definitely important in
Absolutely.
helping to define that for their daughters. Now, I don't want to leave our listeners out. Like someone says, make it too easy for the wrong men. So maybe they're saying that women make it too easy for the wrong men. Would you agree with that?
To a degree, but if you make it easy for, you can make it easy for a good man, and he'll go bad because it's too easy. It's like having a star athlete, and he comes on your team and you don't make him practice. Now all of a sudden he becomes lazy, he becomes fat, he doesn't know the plays, he doesn't have that drive anymore because you made it too easy. He's a star athlete, but if you made it too easy for him, he can easily become spoiled.
Hmm, that makes sense. Because another point. what this guy was saying on this YouTube today.
Hmm.
He was saying how women, do you ever notice that once you get with the guy and it's going, you're in the relationship or whatever, that he basically falls off? Like it's he talked about the idea of making yourself too accessible even in the relationship.
Absolutely. You have to, a man, all dating revolves around men's pursuit of women. That's basically what dating is. And too often, the sisters allow the man to catch her. Even if you're together, you can't let him catch you because once he catches you, the game is pretty much over. Now, there'll be times where he catches you, but as a woman, so if a woman is here and a man is pursuing her, then it's never supposed to get to the point where he's caught her and we're here. Women are still supposed to keep elevating. And that way we keep chasing. And that's what keeps the romance. That's what keeps everything going. So she has to keep bettering herself some sort of way. And that's what puts her on that pedestal and separates her from other women. That's what makes him feel like that's a pro. Like I don't want anybody else to have her. She is wow. She's dynamic. That's what makes him want to go hard. We're built that way. We want to do that, even though we may seem lazy. We don't really want to be lazy. But if you let somebody be lazy, they're going to be lazy. That's just how it is. We're kind of children that way, unless
Mhm,
we're unless we're guided by a bigger purpose. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Unless we submit more to God or whatnot, then we're on a different mission. But for average men, for most men, we pursue women to catch women. It's like if you see a dog chase a car. Like a car might drive every day, a certain car drives down the street and the dog runs out the yard and chases the car. And then the car drives off, he chases it for a couple blocks, and then the dog comes back. That gives the dog something to do. Every morning that dog looks forward to chasing that car. That's what they do. If the dog ever caught the car, that is the game. So
So
it go
no, no,
ahead.
no, go ahead. There's a delay. I'm sorry. What were you saying, Jay? Coach
So I
Boy?
was saying, so we need something to strive for. And women are the natural uh thing that we strive for. And a large part of it is sex, but more than sex, it's that positive feminine energy. It's the balance. That's what women bring to our lives. You bring balance to our lives. And it gives us something to want to work hard for. It gives us an obtainable reward where I can get her, but you've got to be something worth getting. And too many of my sisters have put the focus on their outward appearance and
Mhm,
not what's inside.
mhm, mhm, mhm. So let me ask you this then, because I had a guest probably show number 2, I believe.
Okay.
And we were talking about, being celibate and things like that, where on the opposite end of the spectrum, we had another guest that kind of had a different lifestyle.
Okay.
Would you say that sex plays a big role in men feeling like women are too accessible? Like if women give it up too easy or too late or whatever, do you think that that makes a difference?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're after.
Mhm,
That's what
mhm,
drives us. We are driven by sex. We are driven to mate. God put that in us heavily. And that's what we're after women for is to be able to mate with you.
mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
that's huge. So women, I remember the late great Kevin Samuels said that women control the access to sex, men control the access to relationships. But if the
Mm,
women know how to control the sex, then they have a bigger part in controlling the access to the relationship.
hmm. Okay. Okay. And we have a comment here. A woman of value command the spaces she is in. Low value women beg for attention. What you think about that?
Um, I wouldn't call them low value women. I will say women who have not fully understood or identified what their power is.
Mm,
Because
okay.
sex is just a part of it. It's the feminine energy that we crave. Little boys crave little girls. They crave their mothers. They crave women before sex. We just crave that in because women are nurturing. Women are going to
Mhm.
let you know that it's going to be okay. Women know how to put your shoes on. Women are smart. You are our first teachers. You teach us how to walk, how to talk, how to feed ourselves, how to dress ourselves, how to tie our shoes. So in that we have a unbelievable affinity for you. And
Mhm.
like I
Mhm.
said, and women are usually smarter at an earlier age. Women are even more coordinated at an earlier age. So in that, I remember I fell in love in kindergarten with a little girl who could jump rope. Like, I mean, like nobody, I mean, she was phenomenal jumping double dutch. Like I would just sit back and watch her like that is completely amazing. It wasn't about sex. It was just her energy and who she was and how she wore her jellies matched with her ribbons in her hair or whatnot and how she moved and how she talked was just amazing to me. I didn't
Mhm.
exactly know what it was, but it just was. And that's what God put in us. So women
Mhm.
have that attraction to her. It brings us balance. So
That makes sense.
yeah, women don't really understand how much value they have beyond the sex. Right now, everything is over sexualized.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
in essence, that's what most women feel like they're bringing to the table. That's why you see so many posts with women with it's almost like they're advertising sex, but they want to be taken serious. And we're still talking about men. If you show me sex, then I'm going to get tunnel vision to sex. I'm not going to care what you think about or how you see this or how you do this. I'm trying to get to the good part. I'm trying to get to the good part. If somebody tells you about an amazing, let's say if you love steak and somebody tells you about an amazing steak at Ruth Chris, where it's like, oh my God, this is the greatest steak that you ever had. When I come into the establishment, I'm not going to look at the decor on the walls and the fountains and all of that. I'm trying to get to the steak.
That makes sense. Now, because there have been now, Jason, I know you didn't see them because you go on social media. There have been so many posts about what constitutes or what makes up femininity, feminine energy,
Yes, ma'am.
masculine energy, right? And I mean, in some cases, I can see where there can be imbalances in women and men being feminine, being masculine, or whatever. So, like, in your opinion, like, what is feminine? Like, for how does a woman move that makes her feminine to you? Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. And now, as I've deduced it, about as I've studied it, the foundation of positive feminine energy
Mhm.
is patience.
Hmm.
That is the foundation because once again, we go back to our foundation of when we first were introduced to women, which was through our mothers.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we fell in love with her because she was so patient with us as far as teaching us how to eat, how to dress, how to walk, how to talk. That's how you get us to how to potty train. It's that patience with us. You did such a good job. Look at mama's big boy. So in that, we want to impress you. We want to make you proud. Whenever we did something that you like, women will just dote over you. Oh my God, you did it so. But it was the patience.
Mhm.
And that's what we came to expect from women. Now women are very impatient, very impatient. Just like I believe the foundation of positive masculine energy is submission.
Hmm. Really?
We, yes, ma'am. As a man, we have to submit to something bigger than ourselves. We can't
Ooh.
submit righteously to women unless we can submit to something bigger than us. Something's got to hold us accountable.
Mhm. Mhm.
Something's got to keep us in check. So that's why you see so many men joining uh, motorcycle groups or masons or fraternities and things like that. There's something that you've got to be a part of, and being a part of that is what they have certain rules or certain guidelines that you will submit under. Like joining the army or whatnot, you come in as a private, and then you have different rungs above you, but that submission is the foundation of positive masculine energy. So now,
Wow.
once we learn how to submit to something else, we can submit to a woman. And I don't mean submit where she's just talking crazy to him or whatnot, but as far as taking uh, her feelings into consideration, things that she says that she does, and being able to respect that and even uh, hold that on some sort of accord, we have to submit. And a lot of men don't know how to submit. We're constantly fighting that, but it's natural. The biggest
Look,
thing that we need to submit, the biggest thing that you submit to is God. So that's what I tell most women. If you don't find a man that knows how to submit or is willing to submit to God, then keep it moving.
whew, okay. Whew. Look, I feel you, Tarina. Damn, right? Listen, listen. Okay, so a woman's femininity is the battery that charges a man's masculinity.
I can go with that. And that's what we go. That's what I said about as far as the patience.
Mhm.
That's what we need when we're fighting the world and going through so much stuff. We come home. We need a woman that's not going to just be, yeah, 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 yeah. You ain't this and this and this. And I can't believe it. Talking too strong, talking too much, just over aggressive or whatnot. We need that patience.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
baby, what's going on? Well, let's just sit down for a little while. Well, I'm gonna run you a bath and you just sit here and just relax for a little while. It's that patience. That's the balance.
So let me ask you this then. Okay, so do you feel like a woman isn't feminine if she uses certain words, if she says certain phrases? Do you feel like that makes her less feminine?
It takes away from it.
Okay.
It takes
Mhm.
away from it because the one advantage that men have over women is we are physically stronger than you.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if you become too combative at some time and point, it's like, okay, shut up or fight.
Mhm.
You ain't
Mhm.
about to whoop me up in this piece. So now I have to do everything in my power to keep myself from choking you. From just
Mhm.
that's our natural instinct. If a woman has a little boy, she's watched her little boy pick up couches and jump off of stuff and just grab anything or fight. That's just in us. That's the adrenaline. That's the masculine energy. That's that testosterone that's in us.
Mhm.
So when you come at us a certain way, what it does is destroys the balance.
Mhm. 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 Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So Tyrena says that should be both ways. Okay. Okay.
What should be
Absolutely.
both ways? What does she
I'm
mean by both ways?
trying to think. Tyrena, what should be both ways? Okay. I'm a female that cuss a lot. So maybe it's moving and talking in a certain ways like men should. Being
Yeah.
submissive. There it is. Being submissive.
Well, he's not going to submit to you if you're not going to submit to him. If you say that you cuss a lot, then you can't trip when he cusses a lot back at you. You
Mhm.
can't trip when when he matches your energy.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everybody's always talking about matching energy. You don't want to match energy.
Mm.
At that point, there's no balance. That's why I mean that's what's known as yin and yang.
Okay.
You can't have two yangs. It doesn't work like that. You can't have two yings. It doesn't work like that. So you have to be able to balance each other. So as a man, most men are now you can get a man who doesn't really cuss too much and he's a little bit more docile and maybe she's aggressive. That could work. That's a dynamic that could work. I've seen relationships like that where
Mhm.
he's a little bit more reserved or whatnot, and she's the one that, okay, I got to get the roof done. Let me talk to these people because they going to walk over you or whatever. That may work. It's all
Mhm.
about balance. That's what a lot of people are missing when they're even searching for relationships. Is searching for that balance. You don't want somebody just like you. But then I see women who may be overbearing, but then they get upset with their man because he's such a pushover.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, hell, if you're overbearing and he's overbearing, how does that work exactly?
That makes sense. Hmm.
So that's kind of like that's the primitive way of saying opposites attract. That's basically saying balance.
Mhm.
That's what
Mhm.
everybody's looking for. It's not so much that opposites attract, but it's the balance that you're looking for. That's the if you look at if you go in front of a courthouse or anything like that, and they have Lady Justice, and she has a blindfold on, but she has the scales of justice. It's about balance. She's so justice isn't her looking at it and discerning who's right or who's wrong. If the scales are balanced, that's justice.
Mhm. Hmm. That makes sense. That makes sense. Ooh, okay. See, I already knew. I already knew. Um, Now let me ask you this. So, truth is, communication among us, men and women, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Whether it's on social media and real life or whatever, there seems to be that wedge, right? It for some. I'm not gonna say for all. Don't y'all be inboxing me talking about it ain't for some, right?
Right.
So what would your advice be to kind of like not be so divisive? Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. I think right now there are a lot of people who haven't done the work to heal. So a lot of people are trying to heal through winning arguments.
Mhm,
They think that if they can browbeat somebody else or make somebody else submit to whatever they're saying or to their will, then that's almost a version of healing because they felt like they were wrong. A lot of people from your trauma, when you haven't healed, it's you will make a lot of bad decisions. So
mhm,
to fix your bad decisions, you want to be right now, where it's not all me. I'm not all wrong. It can't be all me. So now you're constantly trying to win every argument. You're trying to say, I'm not the bad person, somebody else is the bad person. So now there's a constant conflict, a constant energy, a constant spirit of conflict within you. And you put that into the atmosphere, into the air when you deal with other people. So now most people are more they're more worried about being right than anything else. And I don't know what that gets you.
mhm.
Most people are trying so hard to be right, but there's no prize to being right.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was some advice that I had gotten from someone that was divorced, right?
Hmm.
And they were like, one thing that they learned was being right and winning, you actually losing, right? So I find that pretty profound, right? My goal, like I think sometimes it's misconstrued. Like I just want understanding, right? I don't have to be
Right.
right. Or I'm looking for empathy and understanding because I feel like with those, even if you don't agree, you can just kind of like be at that meeting point, right? But
Yes,
if
ma'am.
if there's a lot of healing that needs to be done, I'm thinking it's probably harder to get to that point of understanding and empathy because if you have that for someone, you're not going to really be trying to win. You're going to really be
Absolutely.
trying to, you know, meet, right? Find
Absolutely.
that common ground.
Yes, ma'am. And I think a
Okay.
lot of people, what it is they want somebody else to understand them,
Mhm.
but they're
Mhm.
so combative in the way that they're trying to force you to understand them because they figure that in their last relationship or whatever
Mhm.
caused their trauma was because they weren't understood. So now they're trying to force that understanding on somebody else, and that comes across as combative a lot of times, and that's
Mhm.
not good.
Mhm.
So what people don't really understand is if you win an argument, you're in charge now.
Hmm.
And being in charge comes with a lot of weight. So if you win, if somebody be like, okay, you're right. So now you're in front. So now where are you taking us? Okay, you're right. I'm gonna submit to you. You are right. Now where we going? I don't
Mhm.
know where we going. I just want to be right. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. When you're right, if you're arguing about something and you're right, that means that now you're about to set the path that we're on.
Hmm.
And most people win an argument and still don't know where we go.
That's real. That's real.
So now you've won the argument and you don't know where we're going. So now the person is just more mad at you because they're going to take it personal. So
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
just want to yell at me. You just want to make me wrong. You don't want to be right because you understand how this relationship should go or the path that we should be on. You just want me to be wrong. You don't
Mhm.
want to be right because you know better. You just want me to be wrong. So that develops very bad feelings for one another. That person now looks at you a certain way. So now they're going to be more or less waiting to get their lick back.
Exactly. Now, let me ask you this because there was an interesting point that you were talking about in your book about changing a person. Like, I believe it was changing a man, right? We're just going to
Yes,
use that for
ma'am.
now.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you're with someone that needs healing, right? How would you recommend, because this is where I'm at. What I'm looking for now, I'm not trying to change nobody, right? I don't want to change you, right? I feel like if we come together, like those changes will naturally happen. Like I hope I'm making sense. So, like for example, like I'll say with social media, right? Like if I come
Mhm.
together with someone or whatever, look, for me, if I'm committed, look, I ain't gotta be all on, somebody's post. I don't have to be hard and I don't have to be doing all this other stuff. I'm just gonna naturally change because I'm in a committed relationship, right? So my thing is like if you know that you're with someone that needs some healing and you know that that needs to change in order for y'all to be able to have understanding, how would you like go about that? Like,
A lot of times that's above your pay grade.
okay.
A lot of people taking on way more than they can handle.
Mhm, mhm,
If you haven't done a lot of work in helping someone to heal, because I won't say it's sad, but a lot of men don't necessarily seek out therapists or counselors.
mhm,
That's not
mhm,
something that we do because it's hard to we spent a lifetime of bottling things up, keeping
mhm,
things inside. So now if you go to a counselor, say on a Wednesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, now you're supposed to get everything out
mhm,
that you've
mhm,
been keeping bottled up. And by 3 o'clock, the session is over. But let's say, for instance, we had a breakthrough. What do you do with all of that?
mhm,
I'm
mhm,
not used to dealing with that. I don't know what to do with that. So now he's out here vulnerable because he had a breakthrough. He might have been in session and cried and been vulnerable or whatnot. And now the session is over. You get sent back into the world like that. That's not very, that's not something that men look forward to. That's not something that we want. So we keep things bottled up. Most men's therapy is the relationship because we have to be vulnerable. So it's
hmm,
easier to be vulnerable to your woman than it is to be vulnerable to somebody one time a week for an hour. That's nerve wracking. That's inconceivable. That's just
hmm,
not going to really happen. So in the relationship is how we end up doing a lot of our. Now that's not necessarily fair to the sisters, but that's really how it is for us. That's where our healing is. That's where our healing journey really begins. Is when we fall in love, when we get into a relationship that we feel comfortable enough, it'll just start to come out. And it may not come out in a lot of good ways. That's why I say a lot of times that's above your pay grade.
mhm, mhm,
And you
mhm,
get into something with somebody who hasn't healed and he starts to heal while he's with you, that can get real sticky.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
That can so
Interesting.
you want somebody who has already started the work and you can see it, but you've have to have started the work and been on your healing journey to even recognize somebody else who is. There's no such thing as healed. No one's ever healed. It's not an end point to I'm healed and I'm straight. It doesn't go. It's like being an alcoholic. If you are alcoholic, you might not have had a drink for 30 years, but you're still considered an alcoholic. You still have to go to the meetings or whatnot. Even though you haven't drunk in a long time, it's still in you. So the trauma is still in you. There's no such thing as you're completely healed because you can get triggered and all of a sudden it just comes out. And you
Mhm,
thought I was okay, but it came out or whatever. So it's still a process. It's still a journey that we have to go through. But you have to start the process even before you start trying to be with someone else. And if you
hmm,
start the process, you can recognize somebody else who has started the process. A lot of people don't they don't heal. They just go from another one relationship to another relationship.
mhm,
And because they feel like it was the other person's fault. This is why a lot of people don't do relationships that well. They'll overlap relationships, figuring
Mhm.
that it was that person's fault. So they don't look at themselves and what part they had to play in that. They just be like, well, this person was a cheater, or he was a, what's the word now, narcissist, or he was this. So now they just look for somebody else, and they haven't done the research on themselves, let alone on that relationship, to understand how it even got to that point.
Mhm. Mhm. That's a great point, and that's something that I can definitely relate to because after my divorce, like I took time, like I did the work. I'm looking at okay, where was I accountable at? What did I do? What lessons did I need to learn from this? Right?
Yes,
And of
ma'am.
course, I ain't gonna lie to kick it like, oh well, he did this and he did that and whatever, because I think that's just kind of a part of the healing process, right?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
you you looking at all parts, so yeah, but yeah, and I like what you said because I know that myself, and if I'm thinking about some of the people in my circle, we do tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves, right? With I know right now with the things that I've experienced, the whole healing piece, right? I'm like, man, I should be here or whatever. But I like what you said. You're never truly like 1,000% healed.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a process that's interesting. That's
Yes,
interesting.
ma'am. It's a constant journey. It's a constant journey. It's a constant journey. Really, it's a constant journey getting closer to God. That's what the healing process. It's like being perfect. No, you'll never be perfect, but you always strive for perfection. So that's what healing is. You're never healed, but you're constantly healing. Because as you heal, you'll start to understand that you have traumas that you didn't even know that you had. Because in order to, most of us are in survival mode. Most of us have childhood traumas. So to
Hmm.
get through those traumas and still live in this world, you go into survival mode. So you have to put those traumas to the side. You learn how to just cover them up or adapt to them or not even acknowledge them or acknowledge them and put them away or whatnot, because you have to keep, especially if you have children. A lot of times you don't have the time to heal from those traumas because you have to go into mama mode. You have to go into daddy mode. So you don't
Hmm.
have the time or the luxury of healing from your individual pain, because now you're doing the most important job that you'll ever do in your life.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, we have some comments. So Jaleesa Ward says, "Hey, Mr. Boyd."
What's going on with you, Lisa?
So Marie says, "Being equally yoked is the foundational principle that is lacking in modern relationships. Divine alignment is the backbone of a successful relationship."
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You have to, I mean, God, that's what's missing mostly in our community is we don't have any reverence or any understanding of God.
Mhm.
And that was systematically done to us. So now we're just out here wandering. We're just out here making this up as we go. And
Mhm.
that's how we've gotten to this point. That's why we're just, I mean, if we're going to go into biblical terms or religious terms, this is Babylon. And I don't
Mhm.
think it's too many people who would not agree that this is Babylon. This is modern day Sodom and Gomorrah.
Mhm.
And in that, we have too many people who are trying to be rich and famous in Babylon.
Mm. Mm.
So we
Interesting.
don't take into account God. We don't take into account being a good person. Being a good person now is raising our children and making a lot of money. So
Interesting.
we don't look at how we're raising them.
Mhm.
I have so many people who are absolutely destroying their kids. They are causing childhood trauma in their children in the name of uh, being happy or making a lot of money. And happiness, I think happiness is what's gotten a lot of people off track. There's a difference between happiness and joy.
Hmm.
Happiness is happiness is fleeting. You can be happy eating your favorite meal. You can be happy getting drunk or high. You can be happy having sex, but it's fleeting. Joy is from within. So
Mhm.
that's why so many people are trying to do superficial things to make themselves happy, taking the trips, spending money, things like that. That's happiness for a very little while, but it doesn't last. And the worst thing that you can get when you're looking for happiness is getting it. If you look for, I want to make X amount of dollars and you get it, now what?
Mhm. Mhm.
Now
Mhm.
what? So now you want to make $80,000 a year. You get to $80,000 a year. Now what? Now I got to make 100.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's what happiness does for you. There's no joy in it. You can't even relish in it. You can't even feel good about what you've accomplished because it's so fleeting. And now you have to look for the next thing. Now it's good to have goals, but when you don't have joy from within, the goals don't mean anything to you. You can't enjoy them. You
Mhm.
can't do anything with them. So a lot of people are sacrificing their children's joy for their happiness.
Mhm. Mhm. Woo! This has been a fantastic conversation, and we're gonna get to where because Jaleesa's like, "Look, I'm gonna order your book again." Yes, listen, listen, right here. Um, Coach Boy, let me ask you this. So, like, if you could just give advice on, like, how do we become more unified, men and women, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I know that's a whole 2-hour show, right? That's a whole series, right? How can we become like what can we do to become more unified? Just men, black women, men, women in general.
Honestly, the biggest thing that's probably missing in our community is we don't have any elders.
Mhm.
We have a
Mhm.
lot of elders, as my big brother would say, but we don't have any elders. The elders will help you understand that simplicity is how you get to that level of joy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
right now, everybody is trying to recreate the wheel. That's what's wrong with all of our generations in the Black community. Every generation has to reinvent the wheel. We don't
Mhm.
get to build upon what the generation in front of us did. They don't get to pass down knowledge to us, and we keep on making it stronger and better. That
Mhm.
generation basically goes to the side. We don't like them. We don't want to do it how y'all did it. We're trying to do it our way. And everybody keeps reinventing the wheel. And
Mhm.
in that, we don't have a foundation.
Mm. Mhm.
We don't
Mhm.
have a culture. That's the biggest thing. We don't have family. We don't have community. If you look at any other race right now, they have that. We don't have that. So we're chasing something that almost doesn't exist because it's inside of us, but we're looking outside to get it. So that's why we're
Mhm.
trying to make X amount of money and we want to go on these trips and we use buzz phrases like generational wealth and things like that, but we don't have that internal joy because we don't have a concept of God. And
Mm.
God will bring you peace, and we don't have that in us. So
Mhm.
at that point we're constantly chasing something that doesn't exist. Like money really doesn't exist. There is no such thing as money, but
Mhm.
we're
Mhm.
constantly chasing something. So when we're constantly chasing an illusion, how can you win?
Whew. Okay. All right, we got. You know, I'm gonna talk to you after the show.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. So, Kenya says happiness is based upon what's around you, and joy is based upon what is in you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome.
Absolutely. When you go to church, they don't have songs about happiness. They have songs about joy. I got joy, 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 joy deep in. It's not about happiness. It's
Mm-hmm.
about joy. And that's from within. That's the direct correlation between you and God. God
Mm-hmm.
gives you that joy. Man gives you happiness. The world, Babylon gives you happiness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
God gives you joy. That's what children are. Children give you joy. That child doesn't have to do anything. When you have that child and you come and you see that child smiles at you or coos at you or whatnot, that's joy. They haven't done anything,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
they give you that joy. You just feel good about being a mother. You feel good about being a father at that point. That's within inside of you. That's not
Mhm.
something that anybody else can give you besides God, and God gave you that child.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Well, let's see here. Tarina says, I have always said a prayer asking God if this is the man for me. Reveal it. If not, reveal it. Let's just say I've been single for years now. I don't pray for that prayer anymore.
No, no. And most of the time we have to do the work on ourselves. Once you do the work on yourself, then you'll be amazed at what pops up in your life. But a lot of us, we only consider ourselves healed through the world's eyes,
Mm,
not through God's eyes, not through our eyes. But what everybody else sees on the outside, if they like what they see on the outside, then we think we're straight. And that's not the truth.
mhm,
And we
mhm,
have to live in the truth. In this world, everything is so superficial that we are willing to be superficial with ourselves.
mhm,
We can
mhm.
lie to everybody else because we're constantly lying to ourselves. But you and God know the truth.
That's real. That's real. Oh, she meant to say, I don't pray that prayer anymore. We knew what you meant.
We knew what you meant. Yes,
Look,
ma'am, Miss
we was
Raina.
feeling you. We
Yes,
look, we was smelling
indeed.
what you was cooking.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So yeah, it's
Absolutely.
it's not it's not as hard as people would make it,
Mhm,
but it is not that easy because we have a lot of things that are at us.
mhm,
Between social media, between the jobs, between just how we are in the black community, how we even got to this country, where we've come from or whatnot. It's so many things that are at us. It's not going to be easy.
mhm, mhm,
And we want it to be easier because things have been so hard. So we're looking for the easy way out. And that's where I've watched a lot of women try to get a lot of attention on social media, but then they get mad at how the men come at them and what they say and stuff like that. I'm like, well, it's social media. It's just like TV was back in the day. It's fake. It's all fake. I watched everybody they got into an uproar about the sister that said something about Cheesecake Factory. I'm like,
cheese.
but that was basically a skit.
Mhm,
That's
mhm,
nothing that we should even be focusing energy on. But
mhm,
so many
mhm.
people did you remember uh the Popeyes chicken sandwich? And everybody went nuts. So somebody got stabbed over that. It was ridiculous. But that's what
Mhm,
I'm saying. We're so caught up in everything else beyond ourselves and
mhm,
bettering
mhm.
ourselves. We're just looking at what everybody else is doing. And right now there's a fear of missing out on something. So
Ooh,
everybody wants the next thing that's oh, what's the they doing it? Oh, I want to do this. Look what they do. Oh, look at that. We try to do, let's do the TikTok thing and put the camera on the ceiling and do. We're constantly trying to find something to do, but we're not working on ourselves. And then when it's time for us to get into a relationship, a lot of people feel bad because the people that we get are superficial. It's like,
mhm,
well,
mhm.
what are you putting out there?
Absolutely.
What are you putting out there? I call it fishing with hot dogs. The type of bait that you use is going to tell you what you're going to catch.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, Jason, you hitting Coach Boyd, you hitting on so many points because again, last night I couldn't go to sleep for a second, right? So I was
Right?
on YouTube and it was talking about the concept of stoicism, stoic being like it was like principles of being stoic,
Yes, ma'am.
right? And the whole point was really getting back to simplicity and self, right? Which, there are several belief systems that pretty much preach that as well. And as
Yes,
you are
ma'am.
talking about it, self is key, right? Getting back to simplicity, getting back to self, and not being so distracted with what social media is doing. Because I mean, social media, cool, it's powerful in its own right, but it is definitely, in some regards, like a distraction.
Oh, it's the biggest. This social media has done us a bigger injustice than crack.
Hmm.
it has hurt us tremendously for the few people or the finite times that it's helped us. It's hurt us 1,000 more ways and 1,000 more times that it's helped us.
Mhm,
And we can't see it because so many of us are not happy with ourselves. We don't
mhm,
read anymore. We don't talk anymore. If we
mhm,
talk, it's to argue. People don't build anymore to try to get to any type of conclusions where we can take this idea and go. So everybody, if it's not an idea about making money, then nobody cares.
mhm, mhm,
That's it. If it's not an idea about how to get more attention, then nobody cares. That's the it. Like I've watched the sisters go through the BBL craze, and what a lot of sisters don't understand is
mhm,
you're not really ready for that attention.
mhm, mhm,
There are girls that I knew that were in elementary school, middle school, high school who were built a certain way, where they had large breasts or a large butt, and they got a lot of, they had to learn how to deal with all of that attention.
mhm,
Now, as women, you go and get the surgery, and now in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you're getting a lot of attention that you never had. You don't know what to do with it.
mhm, mhm,
You have
mhm.
no idea, but that's what everybody is going for. So right now we're in an era of there's no such thing as bad attention, and there absolutely is. So
Absolutely.
this is what makes so many people unhappy because they're getting so much bad attention and they don't know
Mhm.
what to do with it. And that energy will consume you because it's almost like a drug. You
That makes
don't
sense.
want them, you don't want the bad attention, but when you don't have it, you feel less than.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So Tyrena says social media is the work of the devil. Okay.
I'll
Okay.
give you
Listen.
that.
Hey.
Absolutely. She on
Right.
fire, ain't she?
Hey. Hey. Watch every week. Every week.
Yes, keep watching, keep watching. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Absolutely.
Social media has done us a tremendous injustice,
Mhm.
tremendously. And there's no age range. At least with crack, there was kind of an age range. It
Mhm.
was like 28 and up. But now with social media, it's like 5 and up.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And there's no, if somebody smoked crack, you could look at it and be like, damn, you're a crackhead.
Right.
There's there's no stigma with being a social media head. Now they're influencers. There was no crack influencer.
Woo! You hear? Well, well. Let's see here. So Anthony Kennedy says, I feel like if you're black in this country, relationships come second to PTSD from surviving in this society. We as people have to learn to take that into consideration when trying to build.
Absolutely.
Mhm,
Absolutely. But the hardest part about that is even though we do have that trauma, it's hard to do anything without each other.
mhm,
It's hard to build anything without somebody else. Try building a house by yourself. You can do it, but it's hard as hell. And it'll take forever. So we absolutely need each other.
we
But most
do.
people, we don't have nobody wants to play a role. Nobody wants to play their part anymore. Everybody wants to be the chief, but they don't want the weight that comes with being in charge.
Mhm,
They want to be
mhm.
heard, but they don't want the weight that comes with everybody hanging on everything that you say and everybody following you. It's like a see me, but stop looking at me.
Mhm, mhm. Absolutely. So Marie says social media is the digital masquerade gathering that distracts us from our divine purpose.
Absolutely.
I would say that.
Absolutely.
I would totally agree with that. And another thing for me, like I feel like I feel like social media not only does it distract us from our divine purposes, even in our family ships, friendships, relationships, to me, I think it can add a dimension of difficulty and just distraction and all that. Like me personally, like I could say like just for example, when I was married, I didn't really do social media that much. And it wasn't as taxing, in that situation. So social media definitely it's
Oh
powerful,
yeah. People
but
that
it
I know
definitely
who go ahead.
no, no, no,
It
go ahead.
definitely
There's a delay.
No, and I was about to say people that I know who are actually doing things, they're not on social media. They're not.
That's true.
They may post a few things, maybe a family shot or a happy birthday shot or something like that, but they're not living and dying with social media. And
Absolutely.
it's a drug because you may be one of those people who just hit or miss, but one day you post something and you get 200 or 300 likes.
Mhm, mhm,
That will get you addicted. That will get you addicted to it. Now it's like, oh, I'm trying to constantly post something that gets that much attention. So
mhm,
when you
mhm,
don't get that much attention, you keep trying to raise the bar. So the
mhm.
biggest thing on social media that gets attention is controversy.
That's
It's
true.
bad energy. Bad energy gets the most attention on social media. That's why when they say it's the work of the devil, that's really what it is. Now, it
Absolutely.
can be used for good, just like television, just like
Mhm.
radio. All of these mediums can be used for good, but it's all about the user and their intent. Most people are on social media, but they're not selling anything. So you
Mhm.
end up selling out. You end up selling your soul. When you don't have anything tangible
Ooh.
to sell, you sell your soul.
Ooh. That's fire right there. Hey, so let's see here. So Jaleesa says, "Preach, Mr. Boyd. Let me know the next time you guys go live."
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Anthony Kennedy says, "Yes, I ran out of space to type." Okay.
My man.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. So look, I'm gonna have you back. We are gonna
I
have to
would love it.
chop
I'd
it up.
appreciate it.
I am so grateful for you. Thank you so much.
My
So I
absolute
know
pleasure.
absolutely. So let our listeners know where they can find you and order. Y'all need this book. This book should be on your shelf. You hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Well, you can definitely order the book on Amazon. The reasons why relationships suck, but dating is worse. I titled it that. It's kind of a catchy little title or whatnot. As far as if you would like a life consultant, you can always
Mhm.
get in contact with me on my Facebook page or on Instagram, Jason Boyd or Coach Boyd. I also do holistic massages. So if they like a massage or something like that, or just a little bit more of a holistic healing, then can definitely get to me about that. I'm on all platforms, so I'm not that hard to find.
Okay, okay, awesome, awesome. Now, do you have any Jaleesa says, "Don't keep teasing me with the book."
Well, go get it then. You know where to get it. Go get the book. Yes, ma'am. And see, I like my sisters to. Um, I wanted a few of my sisters to start a book club, and that way they can all read the book, and I'll come out and we can talk about it or whatnot, and have informal discussions about it. And it doesn't have to be so heavy or whatever. We can just sit back. I used to do different gatherings as far as I did a healing paint before, where the sisters did some paint. I spoke about different things, so it's all types. So if you would like for me to come to an event that you're having, by all means, let me know. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the healing and for us trying to come together as a community. So it's not like that. I do a lot of motivational speaking. So if anybody would like to hire me or just bring me on, then definitely reach out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jaleesa says, "Mr. Boyd, you better not. I'm not there." Anthony
Yes,
says,
indeed.
"PlayStation Network 2 or nah?" Oh, Lord. And I think that's a good idea because I was actually just speaking to someone about this, about actually starting like a book like club, right? Because Relationship Soup, we 25K strong. So how dope would
Nice.
it be to come together to, like, because I'm definitely going to read this more than one time. This was a
Yes,
really good read. Like it went, at a good pace. It was easy to understand. So I think that
nice.
would be good because this book, listen, I'm sorry, Jaleesa, I'm gonna keep on holding it up, right?
Thank you.
But this
Thank you. I
book is
appreciate it.
amazing. It's amazing. So we'll talk about that because
Okay.
even like, I want to get back into the meet and greets and stuff like that. The pandemic kind of had us kind of, you know,
Absolutely.
not really
Yeah, that's
meeting
the
and
side.
greeting.
Yeah, that sidetracked me too. That sidetracked me too, and a lot of people. We had an overabundance of entrepreneurs
Mhm.
after the pandemic or whatnot.
Listen,
Yeah.
listen. Jaleesa wants us to start an online book club. We could do that too. And maybe we
Yes,
could do
ma'am.
maybe like a series even, with this podcast because like I said, I mean, hey.
That would be nice. That would be beautiful. That would be beautiful. And that's really what it is. It's about building. A lot of
Mhm,
people want to I've seen a lot of podcasts, and that's why I have a podcast, but sometimes I get discouraged because I see so many, and it's like I don't want to just be one of many, even though
another.
exactly. Even though I've been doing it, I had my first podcast in 2010 on Blog Talk Radio. So
Mhm,
I've been doing it for a while and I'm a little bit older than a lot of, but I see so many people. It's a lot of good information, but it's a lot of people just arguing. It's a
mhm.
lot of people just almost uh, talking down to each other. And I don't necessarily, I like to build. I'm not a debater. I'm not an arguer. I don't even like to agree to disagree. That's not something that I do. If it's something that I don't agree with, then we're going to talk to the point that I can at least understand where you're coming from. It's not that
Mhm,
I disagree with it, but it may be a different style that I'm used to or a different perspective that I'm used to. So in that, if nothing else, I'm not going to disagree, but I can appreciate it if you come from a place of knowledge as opposed to opinion. Most people are just giving opinions of how they feel. And they haven't done the research, they haven't talked to enough people because they're still babies in this. When you're in your 20s
absolutely.
and your 30s, you're still a baby in this. And they
Definitely.
haven't, so they're just going off of what they felt and what they know with people. Like I said, I'll be 53 soon. So I've been doing this for a while. And I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else, but I've put in that work and I've dedicated my life to this.
Mhm.
So in that, I'm not a fly by night type of speaker or somebody who's just trying to get known or get famous. This is more of my ministry.
Absolutely. And I like what you said about that cuz like back in the early 2000s, right? Before podcasting was really popular,
Yes,
myself
ma'am.
and another gentleman, we were I believe it was there was a local radio station here. I won't, plug them, but and we were actually, doing radio shows and different things like that. And like you, that's one thing that I debated about. But my good friend Daniel was like, Lisa, go on and get back out there because there's so many podcasts. It's a plethora of them. But I know that like you, this is I just want to plant seeds with the masses. You feel me? Like
Absolutely.
I don't necessarily have to be the top podcast or whatever. And that's why, I want to make sure that there's conducive conversation. Now, and I'm going to be even more specific with it because I love the fact that so far there has been healthy communication between a black man and a black woman because
Yes,
we
ma'am.
know that there has been a lot of wedges between us, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, I hope that, Relationship Soup and we can collaborate on some things where we can just constantly plant these positive seeds because I'm not all about the controversy. I mean, we've kikied about the list and stuff like that, but I really want to talk about stuff that matters where we can gain empathy, understanding, and then, we can just plant seeds of, hey, well, you know what? I experienced that. Oh, I didn't think that they thought like that. And if I can get just one of those, and I feel like I've done what I'm supposed to do. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I applaud you for that. And that is a beautiful sentiment because it's right on par with what I'm doing. My job is to save the babies. I'm
that's
trying
right.
my best to save the babies. The next generation is the generation of Joshua. That's the generation that the Bible speaks of that's going to get us to this next level. So, in that generation, we have phenomenal minds, we have phenomenal spirits, but they have to be nurtured. They have to
Mhm.
be cared for. They have to be molded and brought into the light a certain way. And that's up to us, our generation, because we are the care providers and the caretakers of that generation. So that's a huge responsibility. And I don't think a lot of people or enough people take that responsibility. We're here to teach. It's
That's
not
right.
about trying to get recognition for what I'm saying or, ooh, look at me or whatnot. And that's cool because, being popular does help you be in front of a lot more people. but you have to have a message from God. You have to be
Mhm.
preordained by God to even reach the babies in a way that is going to give them or put the battery in their back, so to speak, to get them to help us get to this next level. The babies are phenomenal. They are smart. They are brilliant. They are in touch, but we're not doing enough as the generations above them to bring them in. So we've got to do a better job at that as opposed to trying to want all the attention for us because we didn't get that as a child or we didn't get that, early on in life. So now we're trying to take it at this late age and it's like it's not about us anymore. You
That's
know what I'm
that's
saying?
it. That's it. That's it. And it's like I like what you said about teaching. We're here to learn, and it's about service too, because
Absolutely.
through our experiences, life experiences, and different things, especially where we at, we can teach, right? And we can continue to learn so that we can continue to plant those positive seeds. So this has been fantastic, Jason. Like I feel so lifted, brother. Thank you so much. You have
Nice.
fed my spirit.
Beautiful.
You
Beautiful.
are a
Likewise. Likewise.
divine,
Yes,
divine
ma'am.
connection. Jaleesa says, "This is my first time watching. I love it, Miss Lisa. Thank you, Jaleesa, and I love you. Thank you for subscribing." Um, wow. Let's see here. Most podcasts are just echo chambers of regurgitated talking points for the sake of views. Lisa, you are having the real conversations. I appreciate that. I
Yes, ma'am, Miss
appreciate it.
Lisa. You are doing an awesome job.
Woo! All right, so I'm gonna tell y'all where to find us because we got to get out of here. Um, one of my buddies who's been schooling me with this whole podcast arena, right? Because they are really
Right.
doing it. It's like kind of cut it down a little bit. So,
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you where to find us. Okay, so Relationship Soup, we are 25K strong. If you are on Facebook, it's Relationship Soup Group, right? You can also Relationship Soup LLC. And if many of you are listening on YouTube, it's Relationship Soup, period. Now, YouTube made me do it because I couldn't get into the other account. So you have to put the Relationship Soup, period, to follow us on YouTube. And we're also on other platforms too. So thank you so much, y'all, for listening. Words I just want to leave you with: just know yourself, love yourself. That's it. So
Absolutely. Now, right quick for Relationship Soup, if you are in Indianapolis, the book is normally $15 on Amazon. But if you would like to get one from me and you mention Relationship Soup, it will only be $10. I'm going to give you a discount. So mention that you saw us on Relationship Soup, and I will go ahead and give you a discount on the book.
we love that. See, we gonna post all that. We gonna post all that, and we gonna keep on. Listen, I'm teasing. You gotta get it. You got to get this book. You got to get it. And
Yes,
Anthony says, I
ma'am.
personally like the red dress, ma'am. Thanks for
Looking
wonderful and
good. Looking
knowledgeable.
good, Miss Lisa. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Try that. Jaleesa mad at you. You gonna have to after this show, Coach Boy. You gonna have to hit Jaleesa up, okay? Because she don't like you no more. She don't like
Look, she's one of my former students, so yes, ma'am. I'm gonna
you.
get Miss Jaleesa.
Absolutely. Gotta love our former students. So
Yes,
thank y'all so
ma'am.
much for listening. I love you. See you next week. We got a dynamic show lined up next week.
Tune in,
So
tune in.
tune in, tune in, tune in. All right, so we're gonna peace out of here. Love y'all.